Warning: the following broadcast features thoughts, ideas, and opinions you might find offensive. If you're easily angered, insulted, hurt, provoked, outraged, or annoyed, the following may offend you. The views expressed in this show are solely those of the individuals providing them and do not reflect the opinions of YouTube or Google. So please, don't flag this video. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey guys! I started cracking up because I think it flashed us on the screen right before
I saw that, but no one said anything. I don't know if we missed it. Yeah, no one said anything.
I died.
Sorry, can you hear me? Put my mic. No one can see me. This is nice.
It's a good thing you put on the lipstick, though. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be able to
so you could see where I am.
Oh my gosh! Hi guys!
Sorry, guys. I'll sacrifice myself for you all. Hi guys.
Wait till the end of the stream. It's gonna get really crazy. Welcome to Death Defend You. I was warned and I still wasn't ready.
Oh god, too good.
Oh, as you can tell, we're in costume today.
Yeah.
We thought we'd dress for the occasion. Welcome to Does This Offend You? Today we're talking about Midsommar, if you couldn't tell, and the Wicker Man. If this is your first time here, I feel like I recognize pretty much everybody. DC, Shauna, Ben, welcome.
Yay.
Mike's in here, Megan. Thanks for coming.
Thanks guys.
Yeah. We talk about controversial and offensive movies. But it's just a clever title. We don't really ever get offended.
No, rarely.
But But big spoiler warning, I guess, before we start anything. Just get it out of the way. Obviously, we're going to talk about
Thanks for your nightmare fuel.
Oh, thank you. I think I can show
TC
it.
Carter. Am I echoing? Yay, look at you go.
Thank you for your nightmare fuel. Hey. I can click on everything.
That's so exciting. We're using, by the way, we're using a new program on Vicky's, if you're wondering why Vicky's like so excited about it.
Excited. I assume the sound is okay. I probably should have started with that. Because nobody has said they can't hear us, so I'm gonna assume it sounds okay. Hopefully. I guess
hopefully.
In the meantime, you should definitely subscribe to Spooky Astronauts. The link's in the description.
Thanks, Vicky.
All of the links for her are in the description, Twitter, Patreon, all that good stuff.
I'm in here, I swear, guys. There is some blood as well around here, but you can't tell, just so you know.
I love it. Emma was sending me pictures of the process.
Yeah, and now you patrons, you know what I was doing with the paper mache all week.
Yeah. Hear us awesomely. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Megan. Make sure you like the stream for our cosplay efforts.
Oh yeah, please. I'm gonna have a headache by the end of this.
Yeah. If you have to take it off at any time, it's okay.
Oh, it's so cute though. When am I going to wear this again?
I don't know. It is so cute though. I love it. Okay, good. They said sound is good. All right, good deal. Make sure we get that out of the way before we start deep diving into these movies here. I dropped a link all the way up at the top of the chat. I can drop another one in there for the Twitter poll. If you haven't answered it yet, we'll talk about it at the end of the stream. Yeah, Emma made it.
Yeah, it's paper mache. It's toilet paper. Yeah. Believe it or not. I painted the back too. It's not just the front.
And the That's commitment. Earsies. It's so cute. I love it. Oh, now I can see the blood as soon as you got closer. I saw it now.
Oh, cool. But I can't drink. I brought my bear mug, but I can't drink. So it's too thin.
Oh, amazing.
I wonder how Christian did in his,
Oh gosh.
I think it was straight into the A-frame from there.
Oh my goodness. I want you both to wear those in public. Don't know about that, but I
would. This is cool. This is cool. A little bit uncomfortable.
Though,
anyway. Yeah, you look good, Vicky. May Queen suits you. By the way, I totally offered to do the bear. I was like, I want to do the bear. So like, it was not a fight or anything. I was all for it. I love bears. So.
Can you imagine if we fought over something like that?
I think people would, to be honest. Like, who doesn't want to be the May Queen?
I guess. But I don't know. I didn't want to be in that flower suit though. There's no way I would have done that.
Oh yeah, it's a bit much.
A little bit, just a little bit. So what should we start with?
Yeah. Where do you guys want to start? Would you like to start with Wicker Man or would you like to start with Midsommar? I was going to say do a fire emoji for Wicker Man, but I guess they're both gone fire.
Yeah. Oh,
but I think let's just still do fire because, oh no, wait, there's a sun emoji that's exactly the same sun that's in the Wicker Man. I don't know if it's on YouTube. We'll have to see. Let me have a look. I'll find it for you guys and then you can just copy and paste. If I can find it. Yeah. So I'm sure someone can find it faster than me. Oh, wait, you can search emojis. Sun. Oh, yeah, the sun's a little bit different. Oh, no, I think it's the same. It's this one, I would say, is Wicker Man. I mean, Ben, a little bit off brand, but that's fine. And we'll do the bear. Or Midsommar.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
I think it's all the flowers.
Yeah, all the pollen. I can't take myself seriously at all. I usually can't anyway, so that's fine.
Oh, Cammy Cat says haven't watched The Wicker Man. It should say it in the title, but we are talking about the original. Just in case that wasn't clear.
Yes. All I can hear is myself. It's echoing in here. Okay.
So far I see a lot of suns. Sun.
I might punch someone in that costume. Why would I punch someone? What does that mean? I would not. I would never.
I don't know.
Okay, well, I think a lot of suns. I think we should just start with. Oh, thank you, Dallas, for your Nightmare Fuel.
Dallas, thank you.
I think we just start with Wicker Man, and then we'll go into Midsommar because I'm sure we'll have a lot to expand on there. And that way, it's through the, what came first.
That's true. Because Midsommar is definitely heavily inspired.
You guys better be getting screenshots of this. Yeah. If I got, last time we did Suspiria, we got memed completely. So we're asking for it this time.
Oh my God. Yeah. That was amazing though. I love that. Okay. So The Wicker Man. Like we just said, we're talking about the original from 1973. It's directed by Robin Hardy. And it follows a police sergeant, Sergeant Howie, who is called anonymously to a small Scottish island to investigate the disappearance of a young girl. Howie is a conservative Christian and witnesses the residents of Summer Isle's pagan beliefs and practices, which leads him to believe the missing girl is being held for an upcoming sacrifice. In order to appease the gods for a plentiful fall harvest, the residents of Summer Isle burn Sergeant Howie alive in a ritualistic bonfire. Might as well just get it out the way there. That's what happened.
Yeah, the shocking scene. The shocking end scene. Which is, I think it's really clever that it's called The Wicker Man. But they did put it on the cover. It's on all the posters.
Yeah, that's true. There's not really as much of a shock. I feel like the only person who was shocked was the actress who plays Sergeant Howie. That's
we have some notes in there about that.
Yeah.
But how funny though, because I imagine if it came out now, we would be we'd be really upset about it being on the poster.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Well, imagine if they put a bear on fire for Midsommar.
Yeah. Well, I just think about like Pet Sematary because I mean, I don't want to like the new one. If you've seen the cover, it gives away a lot. Well, the poster, I should say. Yeah. So how interesting. Wicker Man or Burning Man, which came first? I think Wicker Man. Where should we start? I mean, should we start with talking about the Christianity versus pagan-esque stuff? There's a lot to talk about, but I guess that's the main thing to break down, and like that, obviously the linking vibe between these two things is definitely the paganism. I do want to put out there straight away. A lot of people, I get a lot of comments from people, or just see a lot of people saying that I can't take myself seriously at all. That Midsommar is a ripoff of the Wicker Man, and I really don't. I mean, the fire maybe. I don't really see that at all. Like it seems like very different. I don't know, very different approaches.
Is it really? Yeah, I feel like it's really just the fire at the end, but I feel like it just Midsommar is following like all folk horror. Like I feel like so many folk horror movies have that same formula. When you see the trailer and the tourists are going to that place, you know they're gonna die. Like you know what's gonna happen to them.
Thank you for your nightmare fuel, Roman.
Thank you.
No, I totally agree. I just I think that that's kind of bullshit, to be honest, because when you see a ghost story and another ghost story, you don't automatically say this is the same thing. But because it's such a like the aesthetic of it, I guess the aesthetic is completely different as well. Like one's in freaking Scotland, one's in Sweden, but also because it's like got something to do with pagan like cults, they just assume it's the same film. And I mean, I know this is off topic, but like if anything, that really offends me, because it's like just because they're both like pagan doesn't mean that it's the same thing at all. I thought that was really weird that people keep saying that. And I guess on that, I sent the photo to you, Vicky, but I didn't even think about this till recently. I haven't seen the remake of The Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage for ages, and I didn't realize that he wears a bear suit in the remake. So if anything, you got it. Oh, awesome. So if anything, it's really a remake of the remake.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't even realize it's been so long since I've seen.
Yeah, me either. I totally like blanked that, and I thought that was really funny. So I thought that's the link that is the strongest for me. But anyway,
maybe that's what they were talking about when they said it was a ripoff. Maybe
maybe they meant like the Nicolas Cage version.
Brilliant piece of film.
Yeah, bees. No bees today, guys. Sorry, wrong one. Okay.
Christianity and paganism. I mean, that's like the whole struggle between these two. You have Sergeant Howie, who I'm just gonna go ahead and say, I don't know, if any of you think he's like the victim here. I feel like he's an asshole, like the whole movie, like right off the bat.
Oh my God, I am actually seeing so many more similarities now. Maybe he's like Christian. He's like got what's coming to him.
I feel maybe like people will right. I feel like it's a little bit.
I'm coming around.
I mean, well, you show up there and you assume the pagans are going to be the bad guys, but I feel like why this movie works really well is because it paints. Sorry, I'm just talking to you.
I know, right?
But it paints both of them in kind of a bad light and kind of.
My beanie's like over my eyes, so I can't see. Sorry, guys. I'm going back in. That's better. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're okay. It paints them both in like a kind of good, kind of bad light, because like the residents of Summer Isle, they even though they're like a little bit quirky and weird at the beginning, like they don't seem like they're bad people, and they seem like they're humoring him for the most part, and they seem relatively nice. But then, of course, they stick him in a giant Wicker Man and set him on fire. But then Sergeant Howie, of course, like Christianity is supposed to like triumph over everything.
Good versus evil, God versus evil, really.
Exactly, and he's obviously being tricked into coming there, and that's like the whole the whole missing girl thing is a ruse, so you feel bad for him that way. But at every turn, he's literally just taking a piss on their religion the whole time, like getting so offended at the girls jumping over the fire when he's in the graveyard and he literally like gets angry and like makes a crucifix.
Cross, snaps the shit,
and it's just like
because he realized that they had apples after they told him that they didn't have apples. Love that.
Like, fuck you guys, seriously.
It's pretty funny.
I just feel like he's such a dick in the
movie.
No, like interesting. I wonder like if everybody thought that when it first came out, or just assumed he was the victim because he is, a good Christian man. But maybe it's because I don't follow Christianity. Maybe that's why I think he's an asshole. But
no, totally. I think he's like, the part that gets me is when he I don't know if it must have been in the classroom when he sees that they're talking about like phallic symbols.
Yeah.
And he's like, how can you teach these kids this thing? And I mean, I get he has a point, like, but then he says, have you ever heard of Jesus? Have the children ever heard of Jesus? And I was like, well, that's a bit strong too, though. Like, can we not meet somewhere in the middle, maybe? Like, yeah, I think it's definitely, it's interesting when you think about it, because the whole idea of like the term pagan is meant to be an insult as well, like back then was an insult. Right. So I think it's interesting how much that's changed and how different we can like flip it on the head. And I don't think in the 70s it would have been that different. It just depends where you're from. Obviously America, I think, is a lot more of a religious country, so it's interesting to see how people over there would see it. But for me, I'm like, they're not that they're both in the wrong, but they both have, like, in this film, no side is really shown as the better one.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, but it is very, like, God-fearing, I guess, in a way. Like, it's interesting. But it, shows them as the baddies, but I don't think that he is very understanding, I guess.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. He's, like, forcing them to, like, give him information while at the same time being like, you're stupid for not believing in Jesus.
Yeah, I just like the when he brings up Jesus, I felt like that was just so strong and heavy-handed. Where it's like, he's a policeman, like, you're here to do a job, like, let's just write down like what you're hearing and take it back and like tell them, and they can deal with the school system. Like, you should not be dealing with the school system. That's like a little bit too much for me.
Right.
Very interesting. And I put in my notes that it reflects the like problematic assumption that Christianity is the true religion as well. But I guess in Scotland, or most places in the world, unfortunately, that's what's happened, because Christianity has taken over. Not that I'm against Christianity, don't think I am, but that's what's happened. Things have been taken back, and that's like the true religion. And I guess anything else is paganism, which is meant to be negative. Yeah. Heathens,
absolute heathens.
I'm a bit of a heathen myself.
Come on.
I have done some controversial elements in the film that I think are all like the pretty intense moments. Can I just rattle through some of them?
Yes, because I don't know if you saw my note I added at the end of yours, but yes, please talk
about
that.
Well, I mean, these I'm talking about just like the controversial scenes, themes. I like to put these in the Does This Offend You Now, just in case we can't touch on anything. So there's a lot of like sex in public, which they love to do. Their island, their rules. If it's your Airbnb, you can do what you want. So it's a private island. I guess whatever floats your boat. But the graveyard nudity was a little bit much for me. Also, it's very interesting that they have tombstones. I don't know if that is a religious thing, but I just thought it was more. I guess it's not like when you think. I guess we think about the runes and stuff, but I think it just symbolizes like a graveyard, which kind of like feeds back into the Christian thought of death, the Christianity thought, whatever, you know what I mean. So I don't know, that was interesting. But people rubbing themselves against gravestones, pretty out there stuff. I was a little bit more worried about that than the phallic symbols in school, but I guess each their own. And I mean, that's fine. Everyone mourns their own way. I put down the children learning about the phallic symbols. I think that's more meant to be like shocking that he just happens to lean his head into the window and hear that bit. And you have to think, what has he missed? Because if that is just the chance that he's heard that, what else are they teaching? So I thought that was a pretty good bit. The bit that got me though was I had to rewind several times. I have seen this film before, but it's been maybe like 5-6 years.
Right.
The navel string, the skin on the tree.
Yeah.
If you guys want a little refresher, there's like a tree in a graveyard. It's in the graveyard, right? And
on Rowan, the little girl's grave.
Yeah, and I know you have a bit on this, so we'll definitely like jump into your bit. And he's just like, oh, what's the string? And they're like, oh, it's her navel skin. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a good one. That's a new one. I haven't heard of that. And it's the tradition of tying a child's umbilical cord to the tree. And apparently it's practiced by a tribe, and it's got to do with the power of making women fruitful. Is ascribed to the trees, and these trees are associated with navel strings sorry, I'm like trying to.
You're trying to read with the bear head on.
My bear mask. I'm trying to understand it as I go as well. I guess that's kind of it, because then it just goes back into what I was just saying. So it's just to be hung on trees to make them fruitful. Am I understanding that right? You have a bit on this too, Vicky, don't you?
Yeah. No, just her name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, that makes sense, because I mean, just making that reach the umbilical cord is, when you give birth out or whatever, making women fruitful, it makes sense. I mean, it doesn't, but it makes sense. You know what
I mean? Vicky's converted. Yeah, I mean, again, it's not the weirdest thing. Humanity is a little bit weird. We do some weird things, but it's just meant to be like a shocking moment. And also the other shocking moment, not shocking, but the other like controversial scene, I would say, was like putting the frog in the mouth of the kid. And they don't really explain what this is, because he kind of walks in while it's like the process has already happened. But I believe like the kid probably like, I don't think swore, but probably said something bad. And, it's the same as like, I assume it's the same as like, the whole rinse your mouth out with soap kind of thing. Yeah. Not good for the frog though. We like animals on this show, obviously. As I say that inside of it. Yeah. Very interesting little moments. Did you want me to talk about the underage sex moment?
Yeah, because go ahead and talk about that.
So apparently I watched the director's cut and I had no idea. But there is this moment in the film, and I was like reading through, Vicky did her notes first and I was reading through them afterwards. And I couldn't, she didn't write anything about this, like really probably the most upsetting scene I find in the whole film, even compared to the last scene. Like, I think that this scene is really messed up. And I was trying to find it online everywhere, and I couldn't even find the boy that it like in the cast. I was trying to find his name or anything, and I couldn't find him. So it makes sense it was in the director's cut. So the scene is where Willow, she's in her like room, and Christopher Lee brings this boy outside her window, and she kind of like opens up her window, and he says like, I present to you, and he says the boy's name, which I could not figure out. I was trying so hard to listen, but it's so hard to hear. And she says, like, she tells him to come up, and Christopher Lee kind of says that this is a sacrifice for you, Aphrodite, and enjoy yourself and enjoy him. And then sounds of them having sex are heard. The boy is very young, very young. I would say like 14, 15 looking. Again, you can't always tell the age by looking at someone, but I found this scene like very disturbing, especially because he's saying like, here's another sacrifice for you. And it sounds like it might be like the lay of the land that like Willow like does that with boys a lot. And yeah, that was really unsettling, and I could not find information about it anywhere. So I'd be really interested to see if people in the comments know about that scene or if you've seen it. Yeah. Sorry. Did you see, like, DC Carter said Emma is a sitcom character trying to be serious while wearing something crazy? Yeah, that scene like blew me away, and I don't know, it especially for her.
No idea.
Yeah. And then so when she has that, she does that sex song where she's like rubbing up herself against the wall and all that kind of stuff, which I mean, each their own, she looked great. But that kind of comes after that. So I was already like, whoa, this is too much. And then seeing that, it was like really overplayed and very interesting stuff.
Yeah. I want to know what the chat says. Surely I can't be the only one that didn't know. When I read that, and I went back and I scrubbed through the whole movie, and I was like, "There's no way I've missed this scene like every single time I've watched it."
So did you see the scene?
I couldn't see it, but I found an article that like broke down the director's cut.
I couldn't find it.
Read all the things. They had they shared like images from the scene, but that was
yeah, I know the website that you're talking about. That's really good. Sorry, Megan is correcting me that the frog in the throat is for a sore throat. So yeah, cool. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Although, like, having a frog in your throat, isn't that a bad thing?
Oh yeah, that's true.
But
maybe that's where that came from, though.
Maybe.
And it just got like twisted.
Twisted.
Ben's talking about a sequel, but yeah, maybe nobody else knew about that.
Since we're on there, did you want to talk about you had some stuff down about the treatment of actors, and I think that kind of ties into that.
Yeah.
Or the Rowan tree as well.
I mean, that's just reaching. Yeah, I mean, that's not reaching.
We love a reach. Don't worry about it. We're all about reaching. We might change the podcast. We might change the stream name to Reaching. That would be probably a bit more appropriate.
Since we're talking about Willow, I'll go ahead and talk about the actress that played her, Britt Eklund. I found like this whole article. It was the only one I found though about it. So I'm not saying that she's lying or anything, but I don't know. Nobody else wanted to cover it, I guess. Apparently she told filmmakers that she didn't want to be shown nude below the waist. Like she was fine with being topless and everything else, but she didn't find out until after the film came out that they had hired a body double for parts of her dancing scene. So like the full body shots where you see her from behind. And once I knew that, you can tell like it's somebody in a wig. And it's, it might not be the same person. So she found out, I have a quote from her, but it's really just about like she found out when the film came out. So she had no idea up until she went to go see it. And then all of a sudden she's seeing somebody that's like,
oh my God.
Her. Yeah. Dancing like that.
Oh, that's pretty like low. Hey.
Right. Yeah. And it was on a day like she wasn't there on set either.
Mm-hmm.
So like she had to go do something else, or she like wasn't supposed to be on set for most of the day, and they called somebody in. She also found out that another actor was brought in to dub over her singing. Like she sings that song to Sergeant Howie.
Was she not good the first time round?
I guess maybe, I don't know. And as well as her speech for the rest of the film, all without her knowledge. She's weird. A Swedish actress. There were other quotes where she was like, like she thought that her like Scottish accent was pretty good, but I guess, and she was like she kind of like says like, I don't know what the point of like me being in the the movie was really, which I'm kind of like, yeah, I guess, but
no, I get that, yeah.
Pretty shit. But then they like had to throw in at the end of the article that apparently, according to IMDb trivia, she also called the filming location of Galloway, Scotland, the bleakest place on earth, and the producers had to apologize to the locals.
I mean, it is known for being a bleak place, but I think it's beautiful. I do think it's beautiful. And we have a lot of subscribers that come from there. So shout out to you guys.
Maybe it's just because she's having a bad day because clearly she was not having fun on
set. Well, no, it is known for being pretty bleak and
okay.
Pretty hard. So, but yeah, we got to thank Colleen. Thank you so much for your nightmare fuel.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I popped her up.
She said, "Here's to your fab costumes and we finally catching Does This Offend You live for the first time. Welcome! We're so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for your support." Yeah, that's interesting. And I didn't pick it up either. Like I thought that it was quite a good match, but yeah, it would be interesting to watch back with, as you say. It seems pretty obvious.
Yeah, I didn't realize before until I read that, and then I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That's a wig.
I wonder what they have in their contract that they're like, if they should be. I mean, they should really put in their contract that they have to be notified if there's changes like that, because it's really weird that they wouldn't tell them that. Yeah. I don't know. That's a very strange thing.
It was the 70s though, so maybe that wasn't a thing. I'm sure there is now.
Yeah, the 70s is a wild Western film for sure. While we're on talking about treatment of actors, I do want to talk about the animal cruelty, because this was actually a controversial topic that was brought up. Obviously, in the end, if you've seen The Wicker Man, the actor gets put in. Sorry, I'm blanking on his name. I have written it down. Hardy gets put in the Wicker Man. It's really interesting the way it's sectioned off. Like I really didn't remember it that way. I was like, oh, I like a little like room tour. Like it's very there's a lot going on there. But there's like animals up the top, and then it's like him, and then I think there might be another row of animals underneath. But there's like goats and pigs and stuff like that, all sacrifices to the land. And he as we've said before, he was kind of shocked because he didn't know that what it was going to be. He knew that they were building like this huge monument, what it's called, this huge figure, but he wasn't sure like what it would look like. So his reaction in the film when he sees it is like that shock is actually real, which I think is really cool. But a lot of people were really worried about the animals in this scene, because you do see it on fire and the animals in there. So they rest assured, people who were worried about this, that no animals were harmed. But I have to say, there is this like quote that went around, and it was talking about how Hardy was mad because this goat peed on him in that scene. So a goat that's above him in this like structure pees on him. So obviously the animals are feeling enough stress that they're just like going, and I don't think that they were well taken care of probably at all. They were kind of like shoved into this thing, and they did a controlled fire, so they burnt off a section which they're meant to, and then stopped it, took out the animals and the person, and then but it does sound like they were still under stress. So I thought that was an interesting something to touch on. And then obviously we said the frog before, so that's a real frog, I'm assuming. I don't know if they put the real frog in her mouth.
I hope
they must have shot it in a way that they were like, but anyway. So I can't
listen to the sound of that scene, because like they play like animal sounds and everything like that. I'm like sitting here like covering my ear.
I
don't hear it.
Just knowing that,
like, the wide shots that they're gone, like the certain wide shots, like because there's like animals like in the arms and stuff too, and you can see like there's nothing in there like during certain shots. So it's like they're not in there, but.
Yeah, it's just the goat thing makes me so sad, because you just like can think about like this, this poor defenseless like creature and not understanding what's happening, obviously, and being put in there, and you just wonder what happens afterwards. And I'm sorry, I know you probably don't want to talk about it, but it's just like, I don't know, like those kind of things like actually don't serve to make the film like a greater experience for me. It actually takes me out of it because I think about that. They do the opposite for me. So especially like even seeing the frog, like even though it's like cool in the moment, it does take me out, because I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's a real frog. Like, I don't know. I think that's a me problem, but it doesn't serve as a good purpose for me at all.
No, I agree. Just shove him in there. It's fine. We don't need to put any animals in anything, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Or just more people. Children, fine. That's fine. Children are fine. Just not animals, man. What do they do?
Just put Rowan in there. She was supposed to go in anyway. That's what.
Well, that little bitch. I tell you what. She played a role. What a cool chick. Thank you for your nightmare fuel. I am the Ice Lord.
I don't see it.
You don't see it?
Oh, there it is. Okay, I was gonna put it on the screen. Sorry, you're like saying, and I'm like, I don't see anything. Sorry. There you go. Thank you, Ice Lord. And thank you.
Did you want to talk about
reaching?
Yeah, you're reaching. I love reaching. I love a good reach.
Well, I just thought I would go ahead and reach because it's a pagan movie and, everything has meaning, especially like plants and animals and all that stuff. So the fact that like all of most of the residents that we hear names for usually have like tree or like a flower name or anything like that. So I figured I would look up the symbolism of the rowan tree. It symbolizes death and rebirth in Celtic mythology. And the character Rowan is also associated with a hare in the movie. Like hares play a big part. Go ahead and adjust while I read. The hare, which symbolizes fertility and rebirth, and how he's chasing the entire movie. He's chasing the hare / Rowan, which leads to his death and hopefully rebirth for Summer Isle. And there's also a myth I found. I didn't find too much on it. I guess it's a Celtic warrior, Oisin. It's Oisin. Hopefully I said that right. There's a myth that he hunted a hare, wounding it in the leg. So he followed the wounded animal into a thicket where he found a door leading down to the ground. And when he eventually came upon what he thought was the hare, it was a beautiful young woman sitting on a throne bleeding from a leg wound, which I thought was interesting because he shows up and gets told that, oh, Rowan's a hare, it's a rabbit, and then it turns out is like, is she real, is she not real? She is real.
I thought that hare thing was really good because the idea of her being born back into the earth, and she became a little bunny, but she didn't actually.
Not a bunny, it's a hare.
Oh yeah, sorry. Monkeys, apes, same thing.
Okay. Doug said, Emma, how irritating is that bear head?
It's not that irritating. It's kind of nice. I had a little headache this morning, and rattling around in here isn't good. It's good I'm wearing a beanie because otherwise it's literally just paper mache. So yeah, I think it's cute though.
It is super cute.
I tried to make the opening the same as Christian's.
Oh yeah.
He's got like this side of his face. So that was how yeah, I do look like a honey bear, don't I?
So cute.
Cool. Okay. I mean, did we cover I covered all mine. Did you cover all yours?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you offended by the Wicker Man?
I would have said no, but once I learned about that scene, I didn't even see it, but just reading about it from that director's cut, that's really fucked up.
It's very strange. It's just strange that it's not really explained.
Yeah, it's really, really weird.
It seems like
the explanation as to why it was cut from the theatrical. Yeah,
the MMO
that version. The one I saw. I mean, I guess it's pretty obvious. I'm sure
Yeah, I think it might have been a bit too much.
Yeah.
But it definitely paints them as being more sinister, like the pagans.
Yeah.
So nothing's off, So yeah. Yeah, I think
but I'm used to pagans being painted in a bad light, so
heathens. Yeah, I don't think I'm offended by Wicker Man. Of course, there's little bits here and there that are questionable, especially being filmed in the 70s as the child having sex and it's insinuated, and the animals. I know obviously they were fine, but you do worry about this kind of stuff. But other than that, I actually really enjoyed the film. The soundtrack I would say that the Wicker Man is a musical as well, because the soundtrack is just insane. They just start breaking out to song and dance, and that sex song, she's just she's going on for 20 minutes, it feels like. Yeah. But the kids singing that song, when that came back on, it's the one you used in the promo.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I forgot about this song. And in that there was a and in that I couldn't. I was like, oh my God, this is the song that's been haunting me. I forgot it's from this movie. But I think it's really catchy, and I like the music in this. I think it's something weird and different, and it brings a strange vibe. And that's kind of what I like about The Wicker Man, is it has like a very weird vibe to it, and it doesn't make you feel safe. And I like that. Like, it's off-putting.
That's true. Sound off in the chat if you think Wicker Man is offensive. We didn't ask that in the Twitter poll, so I feel like it's safe to.
Yeah. Everyone's calling me Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, bother.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know a Winnie Pooh voice.
Yeah, I can't do Winnie the Pooh. All I got is an Eeyore.
Yeah, I think I'm more of a Piglet. Annoying.
Piglet's not annoying. He's like a worrier.
Yeah. Or maybe like the rabbit. Is he like a recluse?
Oh God, we're not gonna get into Winnie. We
just start talking about like Christopher Robin.
I know, the rabbit is this one.
Funny.
Not offensive. Yeah, wasn't offended at all. Yeah.
Only offensive towards people who like Howie, to be honest.
Yeah, probably.
It's pretty funny.
Probably. Oh,
okay. Don't forget to put your give us your thoughts and add to the poll, which is on Twitter. I'll leave a link if you I don't know if you have a handy, Vicky. I'll find it.
Yeah, I still have a poll. Oh gosh.
I'll find it somewhere.
I got it. And
dun, 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 dun. And I'm not done. There was that.
It's been in my head like
I know, it's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I can't find this. Did you find the thing?
Yeah, I put it in there.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I posted it, I couldn't find it.
Okay.
Okay, should we go to the main event, guys?
Yeah, the main event.
Oh, by the way, we did this in May. Did we even plan this in May? Maybe we did. We did that on purpose? May Queen?
Yeah, because we were talking.
Okay. I couldn't remember if we planned it that way. There's lots of stuff goes on in this little brain. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I'm so excited to talk about this. And we're talking about I guess, parts of this will have the director's cut elements. Yes, for sure.
That one I did know about.
Yeah, I made sure. I was like, director's cut. I really want to watch it.
All right. So just a quick refresher for Midsommar. We're following Danny, who is traumatized and still struggling to come to terms with an appalling family tragedy.
Spoiler alert, by the way, everyone.
Oh, yeah. Huge spoiler
alert. You already know that, but I just want to put
probably
it in there again.
Content warning also. If I don't know how much we're going to get into what happens to her family.
No, I don't think. Not too much. Mental illness for sure. But
yeah, for sure. So she turns to Christian, her self-centered and distant boyfriend, against the backdrop of their inevitable breakup. Danny tags along with Christian's friends as they travel to one of their classmates, Pele's hometown, for a once every 90 years summer solstice festival in an isolated pagan commune in Sweden. At last, for the first time in a long while, Danny feels happy. However, in this friendly and verdant haven of peace, harmony, and constant sunshine, the welcoming community's peculiar traditions start to worry the visitors. When Danny accidentally becomes the festival May Queen, Danny learns the sadistic truth of the community celebrations. Jump right to the end. We're going to go ahead and spoil it. And then she watches her boyfriend being burned alive while he's wearing a bear carcass.
Here I am.
She showed up and had no idea why Emma was wearing a bear head.
Well, I think the important thing as well is that she chooses him to be the last sacrifice to it. Yeah. I mean, that's all the details, but she chooses him to be sacrificed. So good times. I mean, what could she do with him then though? Like, it was a wasted life, surely. He was. At that point, it's like, what's done is done, man. Sometimes you got to give it up for the greater good, as I have today.
Amazing. Where do we want to start?
I know. I mean, can we just start with a toxic relationship, because I feel like that's what this film is like riddled with.
Yeah.
So I'm sure some people know this, but you know, this is directed by Ari Aster, and Ari Aster, if you're American, if you say it correctly. So when he did Hereditary, he based the idea around being a family drama, and then obviously it turned into a horror. And the same thing with Midsommar is he wanted to do a story about a breakup, and then this came from it. And obviously a lot of different elements, subtext, all that good stuff comes from this. But at the core, there's a lot about, I mean, it ongoing weaved throughout it. The common element is this toxic relationship that's like brings us from point A to point B. So we see like a lot of examples of this, and we did this Does This Offend You on toxic relationships actually a while back, but this is like a really good, I don't remember what films we did. This is like episode 30 something, so it's hard to keep up. So yeah, this is a really good film that if you want to find a film for like any, you know, I don't know, essay you're doing about toxic relationships, this one is the toxic relationship. So we see Christian pull away from Danny on multiple occasions, and she has, obviously, we're going to go into it, mental health issues, and he does not know how to deal with that, and so he like kind of pulls away, and then she like has this whole thing where like the dynamic is so off, where she'll back down just so he won't leave, and this happens multiple occasions. Him leaving the house when at the very start, oh, I'll come with you, or no, don't go, we can just talk about it. I'm not angry, you know, even though she was angry. Or like even at Hagar, they have a fight, and he goes to, you know, walk off, and she's like, oh no, like, I'm sorry, I was mad, you know, and it's this power dynamic is really off, which makes it quite toxic. He blows off, I mean, at the start where we open to what we believe, I guess, is the foreshadowing of the whole thing, where Danny is really worried about her sister. She's received this email, and we're seeing her go back and forth and try and call her parents, try and email her sister, and then she calls Christian in the middle of this. And, you know, he has this back and forth with him about like, oh, what are you doing? While she's like fighting off tears. She can't be honest with him because obviously he's not receptive to her feelings or her emotions. And he even blows off the concerns about her sister and what danger she could be in, and says that it's Danny's fault for letting her sister do this to her. So like right from the start, like you can see the dynamic is just like so toxic. Like it really is toxic. And yeah, I put in this, like, Danny is a people pleaser, and she's constantly backing down to appease Chris, which is 100% true. And a good example of that is when she knows that she's not stable enough to take the mushrooms when they first get to Hagar. They, you know, bring out the mushrooms, and she's like, you know, I want to get my footing right. I want to feel comfortable. Obviously, she's gone through this traumatic situation. She was already having like a panic attack on the plane just on the way there. And she knows that she should not be doing like psychedelic drugs. And she knows she's she's not well enough, but she is. She's well enough to know that, or to know herself enough. And she does talk about her therapy, and so we'll get into that. But and she backs down, and then Christian like, oh, okay, I'll do it when you do it. And then everyone's like, well, come on, we want to all do it together. And so she has to change her decision, which is, you know, against her mental health and her wellness, to appease him, and to appease, you know, in turn to appease everyone else. So she's constantly trying to please everybody. And I guess the biggest like tell for me that Christian is just like not the right person for her, but possibly anyone. Like the whole thing is like, I've changed my opinion on Christian a lot. I do think he's an asshole, but I do think that he's just not equipped with the tools or the emotional intelligence to like deal with her and that relationship. And I just think that he could have done some learning. And but you know, we're too far gone now, obviously. I say that as us because I'm in the bear costume as well. But when Danny is like calls him wailing about like what's just happened to her family when her family has been killed, she is wailing on the phone, and you can see the scene, and he walks back to her house. Like, I can't imagine. Could you imagine any friend or anyone, even a freaking acquaintance, my neighbor, if they called me in such hysterics that you would walk home to go see them. And he is like walking and you can tell, like, obviously it's put in there for a reason. It's him knowing that he's going to have to walk in and be that person for her, and him not ready to be that person, and just, not emotionally or like mentally, he can't. So toxic relationship.
And his friends are like, they egg it on too, like right before he picks up that call, like the second call where she's wailing and everything. The what's his name? The one who pees on the tree. I can't remember his character.
Mike. Starts with an M.
Yeah. I just remember it's not Josh. I remember who that one is.
I put it down. No, Josh is what's his name from? Sorry, I think it is I've written it down somewhere. I'm trying to find.
Yeah, I probably should have done
Mark.
Okay. When Christian gets up to answer that second call, Mark is like, this is like abuse. Like, because he sees that it's her calling again and just assumes that, she's being needy and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, what an awful thing. And they're like talking about her, like, you should dump her and find somebody who will actually have sex with you,
likes having sex. But like, the whole idea is they kind of make Christian look good, and that's not good, but they make him look like indifferent to that situation, like he's kind of like sitting on the fence. But obviously his friends only know that because of stuff that he said to them. Right. And I don't think that they do well to like show that in that moment. They're kind of showing him sitting on the fence going about it. And he does say as well later, or maybe it's in that scene, that he doesn't want to break up with her because then what if he like realizes it's the wrong decision and can't get it back or whatever. And it's just like, right. It's a lot. I just love the whole thing about him inviting her to Sweden, and he just tells his friends last minute. I think that's the funniest scene. Like he's like, by the way, like Danny's coming up. Oh, by the way, I did invite her, but she's not coming. But she thinks she's coming, and she says she's coming, but she's not coming. Like that should be a clue that this guy is not like equipped for like most social situations, let alone a girlfriend who's going through a lot. Like, yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's such a.
Should we go in? I mean, I just want to touch really quickly on, I guess, Danny's mental health, because I think that this kind of goes into everything else. Danny suffers from high anxiety. It's obviously shown throughout the film. We see a lot of panic attacks happening from her, which, oh my God, like, and she takes medication at the start as well, which they do show the bottle, but I'm not too sure about like what it is or anything like that. But they also touch on the fact that she does have a therapist, because the guys, when they're having like their banter, they say, oh, she needs a therapist. And he goes, she does have a therapist. And just touching on just mental health in general, because the reason we talk about this kind of stuff and does this offend you is because we're trying to talk on topics that could be offensive, or with that it comes into mental health and the way it's portrayed. So in the film she does say that her sister has bipolar. So she, this comes up when Christian's like, oh, you let her do this to you, and Danny goes, I didn't let her, she has bipolar. And I do wonder, like the one thing I do wonder about this is if that is a dangerous portrayal of mental health, given that her sister, kills her parents. And they show that it's almost like part of like this manic episode. So, because they make it seem like it's a pattern of behavior, and then they tie, she's done this before, she does this all the time, and then they also tie her being bipolar. I almost wish they didn't say the term bipolar, but I guess they have to kind of show where, like, what is happening or where it's coming from. But maybe if they just said like mental health or something like that. But I don't know. I found that interesting when you think about it, because it does give bad connotation to obviously people who are bipolar, because that's not the case. But I get why they have to put something in there, because it's hard to. The movie is set up with this, like it's actually like, goes straight into this bleakness and this awful thing that happens. And that's like the whole transition from the winter of being so bleak into like, the midsummer, where it's like the rebirth. And that whole idea of it has to be come from, like the purpose of that, or not purpose, but you know what I mean? It has to come from something, because they don't have time to introduce her and introduce how that would happen. So they have to give it like a quick snap, you know, backstory or a reason. So yeah, I don't know.
I feel like we'd be still having that conversation though if they hadn't said what mental illness she had, because then they would just be like generalizing all mentally ill people.
No, you're completely right.
Yeah,
maybe there's just there's no way of putting that out there, I guess.
Not doing it quickly anyway. But like you said, like, they don't have time.
They don't. And it's usually I say, you know, give it time. Like, I'm all about the setup, but this film is set up extremely well, and it's focused on Dani and her experience, and it isn't particularly about her family or her family's dynamics. It's about her finding a new support system. So like that element doesn't need to have any more time, especially in the director's cut, which goes for nearly 3 hours. Like we don't need that kind of setup. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. Agreed. DC asked, I'll just pop it up here because he asked earlier too. Would the movie be better or worse if Dani or Christian switched positions? If they act the same, it would be the same.
I think it would be the same. The only difference, and unfortunately, it's not a gender neutral May Queen. So that would be the difference, I guess. Yeah. And
obviously just all the females.
Yeah,
in the competition.
And you know, it can't work the other way around, because like the whole idea is, if you've seen the director's cut, like it's explained a little bit more, but like the whole idea with Christian, like giving his seed, I'll say that, giving his seed to help, you know, as an outsider, to give to them to have a baby and all that. I mean, could that have worked opposite way? Because it portrays him as like betraying her.
Yeah.
So
just
I don't think
it would have been
unless she
slightly.
Yeah, unless she was going to conceive the baby, but it didn't seem like they had problems with the, you know what I mean. They needed a new bloodline for that, not for that.
Right. Yes.
For this part, not for this part. Too much. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Oh my God.
Okay. But yeah. Hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, this is interesting. Shauna has said, I think half of why they do that too is to show the importance of mental awareness and showing the worst case scenario, but it does totally the opposite and just demonizes people with those issues. That's a good point, because I do see that. Because obviously Christian doesn't take it seriously. And you know what? Christian doesn't take, I was going to say Pew's, Dani's, condition seriously either. Like anxiety is something that, you know, I would say like a large percentage of the population deals with. So yeah, that is very interesting in that regard, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Before
we got answered that question, what were we talking about?
We're just talking about mental health.
Oh, the mental illness. Sorry, the mental health.
Yeah, but you jump into something, because I've got, what else have you got? Sorry.
Oh, you're okay. I just kind of added onto your notes because you.
Oh my God, I'm dying.
Everything. I guess while we're on it, we can talk about Ruben's character.
Yes, really please do. Oh my God, it's like a different experience speaking outside of this.
Yeah.
My ears are popping.
I have a quote here from Ari Aster that I found just to kind of like add on to what you have on him. But I thought it was an interesting quote, because it's like it's an interesting character that I feel like really, for being like in the trailer and being so prominent, I feel like he's not really in the movie that much. But that could just be
he isn't.
Yeah, the movie we all saw in the theaters was like 2.5 hours, so it's still pretty long.
But you know what? I also think that it might be the similar thing to, like, it's just occurred to me, the similar thing as to Hereditary. That's my post back there. Hereditary, where you think that it's all about. Sorry, I shouldn't spoil a different film while we talk about this. But you think it's all about one thing, but it's really about a different thing. So maybe that's like a similar. They have like a scapegoat person where they like choose to focus on that for the trailer to kind of throw the expectations off, which seems to work well.
Yeah, that's true. So this is from a Forbes interview. This is Ari Aster talking about Ruben's character. He says, and I quote, Ruben in Midsommar is a very important character. He's important more as a symbol, as an idea, than he even is as a character. There are politics woven into the film, and Ruben is about as close as we get to that being articulated explicitly what is happening. And then if you also consider Swedish history, it's a very closed society. And what does that really mean? There are things happening in Sweden right now that are echoes of things that happened in the Second World War. So I'm sort of loath to expound openly about these things because I'm not making a polemic. But Ruben, he's like the full articulation of whatever the film is saying politically, which I find interesting because he's like barely in it. But I don't know. I'm sure he didn't mean it that way. I just thought it was interesting that he referred to him as more of a symbol or as an idea than even as a character.
No, I get what he means. I do. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know a lot about the political stuff, but in Sweden. But when I was in Sweden, it was a very scary time with the elections and like the propaganda posters and stuff. Like I saw a lot of that, and I can understand what they mean about the Second World War and all that kind of stuff because let me say like that's very echoed there. And I think that maybe like without getting too into it, it's probably like echoes stuff that we've spoken about in Lords of Chaos, and people who are the rights of the land,
Right, yeah.
Which is interesting because this is the whole pagan and versus Christianity thing again. So it is very interesting when you think about it that way. So I guess like the interesting thing about Ruben's character, which I didn't think of it as political at all.
I know.
But I guess, that's subtext and that's adding things in and like adapting them. So it makes a lot of sense. And that's what Ari Aster does really well. Incest, eh? It's quite a shocking part and very controversial in the film. And that's where they explain to the part where the elder, I think you called it, I would call him an elder. Explains to Josh, who's asking 100 questions about who Ruben is, and explains that Ruben was purposefully inbred to create a person with. I'm using my words, with an intellectual disability, but they say who will not be clouded. Josh says, so if Ruben's because he's talking about how Ruben is adding to this book, which, is this ongoing changing thing that's giving them the rules and the light and showing them the way and what they need to do. So they need an unclouded person to do that. And then, in that moment, he realizes, so what happens when Ruben's gone? And they go, well, obviously Ruben was purposely made this way, which, I mean, in itself is like such an out there concept, especially for, the Western world. That's Western world, but like, it's very out there. It's very controversial. It's very intense to think that was purposefully done. I don't know what else to say about that. It's quite shocking in the moment. And you can see Josh's face is like, okay, I've seen the cliff jumping and like, what else you got? Like, fuck.
And this somehow takes the cake over.
Yeah, I think it does. It's very intense, very intense. Yeah. So I was just looking that. Do you think every 90 years they kill an outsiders that come in this time as a special? Because these guys were jerks. No, they were definitely picked, and they say that they were picked. The picture of Christian was shown before. Sorry, I forget the redhead's name. Shown to the girl beforehand, and she picked him. And they say that. Yeah, Maya. Yeah. They say that they're all picked. They're all picked for this purpose, and they're all picked for sacrifice as well. So it was all purposely done. But I don't know. Obviously they do a Midsommar every year, but like this 90 years was very different. I don't know how much of like the traditions change each year, and I don't know what is apparent to that 90 years or whatever. So interesting.
Yeah, I don't know the purpose of the 90 years, to be honest. Not really sure on that. But yeah, that was the one thing with the director's cut. I feel like that really added the most to it, is kind of showing how planned it was.
Yeah, how planned it was.
Anyway, that like everything's like almost staged a little bit and very
well, they say that, at the start they say it's theatrical, it's like a play, And I think that's really important. I have to say, I didn't watch the director's cut the first 2 times I've seen it. I saw it theatrical in the cinema, and this is the only time I've ever seen the director's cut, and I saw the film completely different, in a whole different light. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yes, interesting. Very interesting stuff. Since we're on the cult, I call them the family a lot, which I think is like probably shows my mental health. I just want to talk about a couple of things that the cult does that obviously is a bit alarming. Brainwashing, very interesting in the film. I didn't pick up this the first time. Well, I know about the love bombing, so let's talk about love bombing really quickly. Yeah. So it's Pele, that's it. Yeah. So the cult or the family love bomb Danny, and this is, if you don't know what love bombing is a term coined in the 70s for cults that use it. It's, showing an extreme amount of love to someone, especially an outsider who doesn't have a family or support system. And in doing so, they are able to influence this victim. Just showing a lot of love. And it's been transformed over the years, I should say, into, people say even love bombing is when someone like massive likes someone on Instagram and stuff like that, and then messages them and makes them feel special. But obviously the core being was like, showing someone a lot of love, so they feel influenced by that person. Yeah. And this is something that happens to Danny during the whole process. She is shown like this intense love, and it's quite jarring for her compared to what she's just had with Christian. And that's what we see when, sorry, I can see something in my head. And that's, I won't be able to get it off. And that's what we see when the cult are like, with her, grieving with her, surrounding her in love and holding her where, Christian never held her. And at one point, I guess with this whole brainwashing, because that's a form of brainwashing. So with one point in that brainwashing, Danny jokes to Pele. What was it? I feel like I'm always pronouncing it wrong.
Pele. I mean,
Pele.
Right.
You managed to brainwash all of your friends, and he responds, Josh was already brainwashed when I found him. And it's meant to be a joke, but the way he kind of smiles, he's like, yes, he was. And that should have been a sign. That was when they're driving on the way to Haga. So like, it's quite funny. So we've talked about, the cult aspects, we've talked about brainwashing, we've talked about the incest. I guess the other thing we need to talk about is the cliff jumping scene, which is probably the one that people talk about the most, I think, in the film. It's probably the most shocking. So it's, I don't know how to say the word properly. Did you want to try? I'll highlight it for you. I don't know if you're...
Yeah, I think they call it like Atsupa.
Yeah, that sounds right. Like that. So this is their view of like sacrifice to the land, or like, the circle of life, and the way they give back. They don't want to die of disease or old age. They want to give back and sacrifice themselves back into the land and create a circle. But this practice, although obviously Midsommar did not make this up, it's effectively a myth. I'll find that. It says the original source of the story is a 13th century Icelandic account. I don't know how to pronounce that word. But they say that it happened in Norway and Scandinavia. Pretty much there's been no references about it. It's just been they've talked about it in some books, or the idea of it, sacrificing back to the land. But the most serious historians consider the story a reflection of Icelandic medieval tradition of depicting Swedes as barbarous on account of them converting to Christianity a century later than Iceland. So there you go. There's so much politics behind the whole pagan Christianity thing. Which again, that's so very interesting stuff, I think.
I thought it was too, because you wonder how much of it was, I mean, that's like half of the articles about this movie is like how much of it is real and how much do they actually do.
Sorry, I just saw Slops came in here. He missed the effect. Sorry, I had to get out of the little echo chamber I lived in.
Here you go, Slops.
There you go, Slops. I was wearing this for the first hour.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I guess onto this, sorry, I don't want to keep
No, you're okay. My head is
sitting on my soapbox. I guess on this, we need to talk about that leads straight into, the perception of outsiders into this film and how they see this film. So we were talking about before about films like Hostel and things like that show tourists going to other countries and being like kind of culture shock and all that kind of stuff, and why people always say that Midsommar and Wicker Man are the same because it's about pagan cults, where there's all these different films where, they go to a different country and become, prey or whatever. So I wonder if this film does serve a bit like Hostel, where it shows a fabricated version of Sweden, and it could do damage to the way that some people see Sweden, which it shouldn't. Sweden is so freaking cool, and how it's like viewed as from outsiders, but also on the flip side, how they must be a little bit offended about how they're portrayed. So I wonder. I don't know. I would love to. I don't think that we've got. I don't know if we have anyone from Sweden in here. It might not be the right time.
2 quotes from. So obviously they don't speak for all of Sweden, like how they feel about this movie, but I did find some quotes like from like daily magazines or newspapers and like tabloids and stuff about like what they thought about the movie. So I pulled 2 that I thought were interesting. I'm not going to be able to pronounce the publications. I did write them down just to, for posterity, but there's no way I'm going to be able to say them. So one Swedish tabloid said, and I quote, "Everything is almost comically rural. Everything in the film is well thought out with traditional paintings and log cabins that will make us think of Swedish traditions. But of course, it's also quite twisted." And then another one, which is a Gothenburg like daily newspaper or something. I'm not going to be able to pronounce that either. Said, and I quote, "It has to be said, surely this is about cultural appropriation, the film. I have nothing against the idea of gamely borrowing from other cultures. Still, I shift uneasily in the cinema seat. Are you really allowed to deface the nicest thing we have, Midsommar, to this degree? Is it really okay to distort Swedish traditions like this before an international audience? Play up to the image of Swedes as homogenous and strange little people in the north?" The answer, of course, is a resounding yes. Yeah, even though like there were some like critical ones of it, it seemed like the overall feeling was like they took it with some degree of humor, like knowing that it's that's not what they set out to do with the movie.
And like people from Sweden, I know, like they have quite a cool, like dark sense of humor, but they're really cool people. Like they kind of take that kind of stuff on the chin, and very open people as well. So yeah, I can't see it being. It's interesting. If it was in a different country, I'm sure they would see it a different way. But I think a lot of people were actually more upset that it wasn't filmed in Sweden, because a lot of it was filmed in Romania, right? Was it Romania? Something like that, yeah.
Or like Hungary or something like it wasn't in Sweden.
Around there. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So sorry, I will on that. I guess on the flip side, it's another film that shows tourists in a bad light, Americans particularly. But I think this is interesting because I did get a tweet the other day saying, like, I tweeted saying, like, Midsommar is like when your girlfriend tells you to leave, it's time to fucking leave. Yeah. And someone responded saying that, it's actually about Americans not being educated in the American education system, which I thought, I mean, to a degree, I get, because maybe he's talking more about, sorry, I don't know, I assumed the person's gender, they're talking about like the education, them doing their thesis and stuff like that. Maybe that's it. But at the same time, there's UK tourists in there. There's people from London, the couple, they're from London. So I think it's trying to be a little bit broader, but it definitely does show a lot of like stereotypical American tourist things. They have what's more really that Mark character. He does not do well. Not a good representation. So like we see him when he goes to eat at the start, when he has to wait, and he just, it's just a very disrespectful sign. And obviously he pees on the sacred tree. And at this moment, if you watch, Christian's actually laughing when he, like, afterwards, when he's like getting told off and yelled at, when they know what it is, he's actually laughing. So yeah, it's pretty sad. And then of course Josh breaks into the temple and tries to steal the book, and doesn't end well for him. But he doesn't respect them. He thinks that they're dumb and they wouldn't realize. Like, it's just a lot of disrespect is kind of shown. So as much as it shows like this, again, pagans as crazy, like ritualistic people, it also shows like the tourism and just how ignorant people can be. So I think it kind of balances it out, to be honest. And not really anything happens to anyone who isn't deemed bad by as little thing that they do, like Mark's always complaining about everything. They try and paint everyone a little bit sore about that. I guess maybe the UK tourists, they're not really deserving.
Yeah, they don't really do much other than they
freak out about
the cliff during the cliff thing. Yeah, that's about it. But, well, maybe that's why they die first. It's not like they don't suffer very long because they weren't as annoying as
maybe. Yeah. Oh no, he suffers the worst. The dude.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because he gets like strung up, and you can still see his like lung or whatever it is. Like fucking, that's insane. Speaking of that, let's just talk about the extreme scenes. We got the cliff jump, which is like the famous one. And I think that the cliff jump is really brutal, but what's more brutal is the hammer at the end to put them out of their misery. It's very shocking. Simon's death, that's what we're just talking about. He's in the room with his limbs and body all stretched out, flowers in his eye. And Mark's skin he's got a little like shout out to Leatherface being worn by another person is pretty intense. But I actually think the most offensive scene in this whole film is when Vicky knows what I'm about to say, when they're at the dinner table and, she's May Queen, she's fucked up her face like she's on drugs. And, everything, the eyes are getting big and she's like, oh my God. And then Christian's down the end and Christian is freaking out, like massive, like bad trip. And he looks around and he looks at the guy next to him. He says, he's like, man, I'm sorry, like, what's going on? And the guy does this in his face. And I think it's so offensive to someone who's completely like off his face to just rock his world that way.
And he looks so sad afterwards.
Oh, yeah, it was not okay. You don't do that to anyone. I definitely think that that's like the part I find very offensive. That's the worst thing. Like, how dare those stupid pagans do that?
It's so funny that you find that the most offensive, and then what happens to Christian later? Like, how dare they do that to Christian?
Yeah, well, the bear's cute. The bear's like a cute touch, but like, don't mess with his mind like that.
They literally drugged him to the point where he couldn't move or speak. Like laughing in his face. No.
No, definitely not.
Party foul.
Definitely no. Yeah, as Watch This Now just said, Christian's expression after that gives me empathy for him. And I'm like, yeah. He almost came back. Yeah, I almost wanted him to get out after that.
Yeah. He looked like a child being scolded, like he was going to start crying or something.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Viking torture method. Love that. That's funny, Megan. Yeah.
Oh, no.
What else you got? I'm sure you got heaps.
No, I just kind of went off of yours. You covered everything. Like, Emma's notes on this one were like chef's kiss.
Oh, yeah, you got your reactions. Did you do performance empathy? You haven't spoken about that.
Oh, yeah, I guess we can talk about that since you were just talking about some of the intense scenes. Well, particularly like the cliff jumping scene. There's so many scenes though, but like what sets another like iconic part of this movie that people talk about a lot is the community that like, like in the scene where they're crying with Danny, or they're like freaking out when they're setting the whatever on fire, the triangle house, triangle house,
the temple.
Yeah, the temple, right. And the cliff jumping scene. But I just found it like interesting, again, knowing the director's cut, like getting a glimpse more into like how performative this is. And like Emma mentioned, Pele mentions that it's very theatrical and costumes and everything. I feel like their empathy is like very over the top and staged also. Like you almost feel like, especially the cliff jumping scene out of all of them, you get the feeling like if the tourists weren't there, like if it wasn't this like super 90-year celebration or whatever, they would just be completely stoic the entire time. And it's almost like they are acting like as caricatures of how they should be acting. Like especially at the very end too, when everything's like when they set the temple on fire and they're all like flailing and freaking out. It's almost like this is how we should be acting, but it feels very like performative. And I don't know if that's probably reaching or I don't know, something.
I saw it very differently to that. I saw
Okay.
it as them like, just expressing, because like that, the whole thing is like them about grief and how they express. Right. But I can see what you're saying. I do think the performative part for me was the river scene, which is cut out of the theatrical cut, because that if you haven't seen it, there's a girl and she like she offers herself to be thrown into the river, and they're about to throw her in the river, and then they like stop, and you can tell it was all a performance. But the way the kid like delivers all the lines, like I'll go do it, like it's obvious that she was like that it was just a performative run. And Danny the whole time is waiting for something really bad to happen. So I felt like that was really performative. But I don't know. It's hard to know, like with the whole thing. Obviously the tourists don't come every time unless they need sacrifices, and I'm sure that they would do the same thing. It's like they all dance and sing and do the whole around the maypole and stuff like that anyway. So, but it's interesting seeing it from that perspective for sure.
Yeah, I just thought it went with like the love bombing too, especially with Danny. Like
it is definitely over the top. I get what you mean by it's performative for sure, but I also feel like it's a way of them like to express themselves, but it is over expressing for sure. But cool. Are you offended by Midsommar?
No. I really enjoyed the movie. I feel like I was very every time I've watched it, I like it a little bit more. I was very taken aback the first time. Like it was so intense. It's like such an intense thing to watch, but I really enjoy the movie. I don't find it offensive.
Yeah, me either. I love it. I think it's amazing. And every time I watch it, I feel very differently. And the first time I watched it, I felt like it was really calming because the music is calming and it's just, I don't know. There's just something I love. It's the hygge. If you guys know what hygge is, it's the hygge. So I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's amazing.
Makes you feel so comforted, like that smile at the end.
Yeah, she got it. She got her groove back. I want to see what people say in the comments. Not offended, not offended, just comfortable with not comfortable. Just uncomfortable with the anxiety scenes. Yeah, but I think it's meant to push you. I feel like you're right. The anxiety or like the panic attacks sometimes feel more overwhelming than like the cliff jumping.
A little bit, yeah. Especially
because you can understand, like you know her backstory and stuff. Yeah. Shall we take a look at the poll?
Oh yeah, I didn't vote in it, so this will be a surprise. I want to know.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Well, you can see it though.
Oh, can I vote in it? It's my poll. So which film is more shocking? 68% to Midsommar. Interesting. I'm going to read some quotes, although one says that they're offended. Oh, no, it's just says sexuality. Someone says, Midsommar was disturbing on so many levels. The final scene alone was, not pretty. Justin, sorry, that was Lionel. Justin says, looking objectively at both right now, have never seen either before. I'd say Midsommar. I don't think that's how it works. However, I first saw The Wicker Man about 40 years ago. Wait, how can you say never seen either before? I don't get that. So it was shocking, but in a different way. I'm so confused by that. Maddie G says, I chose The Wicker Man because it was made in 70s Britain, Scotland, with how concerns were made about sexuality. I think it's shocking that this film was made. That's a good point. I guess it was more shocking to come out in the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your Nightmare Fuel. Watch this now.
Thank you. Watch this now. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That was a good one, guys.
I feel like we just went through the whole the whole festival.
No burning. I hit all the matches. I didn't want to go up, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope the paper mache was worth it. I don't know what to do with this now.
I know. Now I have this dress I've glued flowers to and everything. Who knows?
We're not going to be talking about naked Christians. No, I don't know. I guess, yeah, we didn't really talk about the sex scene at all.
Oh, yeah. There's so much that happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't find that offensive. Once you know that he has signed himself over to it, it just doesn't seem like an offense. I mean, it may be for her. She's quite young, but yeah. I guess that would.
He kind of, it's kind of consensual and kind of not. So I guess I can see why it's a little.
Well, she picked him from a photo before he even came.
But he's also blitzed out of his mind when he goes.
That's true. But he does agree to it beforehand. Yeah. I know that can't really be, consent is king.
Right. Agreed.
The good point. I'm too busy talking about a clap in his face and the dramatic sex scene.
That was way more
my bad. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So thanks for coming, you guys. Once again, all of Emma's links are in the description. So you can follow her everywhere. Do you have anything coming up that you want to?
No, not really. I do have a video I did on Jennifer's body, and I'd like if you guys went and check that out because really I think it's interesting. But obviously Spiral came out, so I've done a review on that. So yeah.
Definitely watch the Jennifer's body video. It was really good.
Yeah, thank you. I would appreciate that.
Yeah. And then there's also a playlist in the description if you want to watch any past episodes. You should definitely do that. This is 37 now. So we got a huge backlog now of you to check out. So we'll see you guys soon. To all of our patrons, we'll see you soon in a second for the after show video. Yeah. And next month will be on
my channel. Yeah. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for coming. And yeah, we'll see you soon.
Bye.